The Cosmic Briefing, hosted by award-winning author Dr. Allison Brown, opens the door to disclosure, consciousness, galactic history, and humanity's awakening.
Hello and welcome to the Cosmic Briefing. This video is not meant to be political in nature, even though I will use two words that tend to be thrown about in the political arena. But hear me out. You know, when we are born, we're connected to Source. That's the most closely connected, probably, that we are to Source. And then the veil comes in. And we start to lose our connection as, you know, we age and we become 5 and 6 and start to go to school and have more human experiences. But before that, we're super connected and we understand who we are relative to God, Source, and everything, really. And as you go through life, we tend to become a little bit more jaded and have more traumas and different things like that that diminish that connection for us for a bit. But while we're young, and I would say even including young adulthood, we still have that idealistic persona, feeling, thoughts, and beliefs, idealistic. And so this is why I think you see so many young people embracing what we would call socialism or communism right now. Now, hear me out. I'm not going into a political thread. But let's talk about what that means, socialism and communism. In an ideal world, and these young people are idealistic, right? In a perfect world, in a socialist and communist setting, the idea is that everybody's kind of equal, that we all have equal access to goods and services and healthcare and financial stability, that we work towards the common good, that we want the best for everyone, that we work in communities, we live and work in communities, and we share, and we contribute, and we do all of these things that sound beautiful. And they are. They are beautiful. And this is why it's so difficult to eliminate this idea of socialism and communism from our understanding. It's difficult because as each new generation of young people comes up, they're like, why wouldn't we want to do this? This sounds fantastic. This is great. I don't mind paying a few extra taxes so that we can all, have a better life. And the reason that we feel that way is because of our connection to Source. Because in a perfect world, this is how we would live. We would live sharing with each other. We would live in community with each other. We would live contributing to the greater good and in service to humanity. That's our very nature. And that is why young people, particularly, are so enamored with these ideas. Here's the problem. Because we live in a polarized construct of good and bad and up and down and negative and positive and trauma and joy, humans just can't live from that place of connection to Source permanently all the time. We're not meant to. We came here to have a human experience. We were in that place already before we got here into this human suit. We were in that place of perfection and la la land. Everything was wonderful, but we wanted to come down here and have this experience of duality. And as long as we're in an experience of duality, we can never have a perfect form of socialism or communism because human nature is, I want a little bit more. I like what my neighbor has. Let me have some of that. Or nobody will notice if I skim a little bit off the top, or I give my friends a little bit of special treatment. It's next to impossible that at least a few humans who are in charge are going to do that. And so this is why it never works. But this isn't about the political system that we should be living in. This is not what this video is about. What it's about is that the idealists, the youngsters are correct. This is how we should be living. This is how I would argue that we are going to be living when we ascend. We are starting to build those structures that support that sort of living, that support the common good, that support a little bit more equality for everyone, that support healthcare for everyone, healthcare access, and not so that some can work harder than others to support those who don't want to work. It isn't about that, but it is about this living according to our divine blueprint. And again, what I would say is that it's just impossible in the current state of consciousness, because until we raise our consciousness into the fifth dimension where we have a greater awareness of who we are as divine beings, we're going to find it super difficult to be able to hold that kind of structure in place. But you are seeing the beginnings of that. You are seeing the deterioration of certain structures and organizations, structures, organizations, different types of, governmental and political and financial and economic structures are starting to crumble because they cannot withstand the love that's hitting the planet right now, where we are headed evolutionarily. And so they are going to crumble because they were not built on love. They were built on control and fear. And so what I want to share with you in this video essentially is that is where we're headed, into what we would normally call a socialist or a communist type of structure, but not in the way that we're used to thinking about it, but more because we're going to want to live that way. We're going to want to not take advantage of each other. We're going to want what's best for everyone because that's who we are as divine beings. And so rather than thinking about it in terms of a political structure or where we're headed that way, I want you to think about it in terms of where we're headed in our consciousness. And as our consciousness on the planet and as a collective starts to rise, we're going to want to see more of those types of systems. And that's what we're seeing. In education, I can tell you, because I still work in public education, it is starting to, you're going to start to see the cracks. We've been seeing cracks for quite a while, but now it's starting to really show some wear and tear because it isn't working for children. It hasn't been working for children in quite some time. And so parents are pulling their students out, starting to homeschool, starting to have community schools, schools that focus on things like gardening and growing vegetables or studying the stars and the planets, doing mindfulness and meditation and all of the things that serve us as humans, that are best for us as human beings, not that serve corporations and those structures. And so I think as those settings and those organizations and those structures start to crumble, you're seeing other things come and take their place. And I think that by the time we move into the fifth dimension, which is not very far into the future, maybe 3 years to 4 years max, we're going to be living in this beautiful la-la land of what we would have normally called socialism or communism, because there aren't going to be the people who have their own interests above others, because you're not going to want to do that. People are going to see, this doesn't serve me. We do unto others as we do unto ourselves because we are one another. We are all connected in this divine web of God. And so I had been thinking about this idea for quite some time, wrote a blog about it many years ago, that the idealists and the youngsters aren't wrong. They want this for a purpose because they know that this is where we're headed. They know that this is ideal, this is good, this is perfect. When we are of a higher consciousness state. But again, until we get there, we just can't withstand that. We can't hold that. We can't hold that structure. There's no support and scaffolding because there are still people who are acting in what we would call nefarious ways or ways that serve themselves rather than serving others. So let me know if you've ever had a thought about that. Let me know if this sounds fantastical, impossible. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below, and until next time.